those people who aren't here. There it is. Okay, so once again, in Google Classroom, there's a quick write posted for everybody, and you, as you always do, you reflect and respond to this quote, and the image is underneath. I'll leave the quote for that second. And yeah, go ahead. You'll have 10 minutes. So I'm gonna be right back at 8:17, so you guys can start, so we can start debriefing. Okay, so I'll be back. Morning, Josh. We're doing a quick write. Go to Google Classroom, and the latest assignment is to reflect and respond to this quote, and the quote's right there. Go ahead and do that. You guys have about 6 minutes, and submit it through Google Classroom.
Si quieres seguir lavando y necesitas jabón, mi jabón está en el bote, ¿ok?
Okay. Okay. All right, let's start. Go ahead and post it. I miss Horse is not here. Let's see. Ashley's finishing up. And Josh is finishing. Rosa and Kiara. So it's about 3 of you who are still finishing. Okay, so we're gonna start debriefing really quick. Let me get away from here. I stop sharing, but I'll keep recording. Perfect. Okay, so let me put up my volume. Let's begin. I know Sierra's isn't working, so I'll just grab hers and read it off. Let me go to Riley. What did you think? What was your thoughts on this little quote? I don't know if our audio is working. It looks like it's not working, so let me move on. Oh, there it is. I can hear you. I think that's Ashley. Okay. Okay. Well, since we're here, let me go to Ashley. Go ahead and share with us your thoughts about this message or this thought.
Okay, and can you hear me very well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So what I wrote was, to sum it up, he was saying if you don't plan ahead for your future, then you're basically not going to be prepared for any difficult trials that are going to be in your future.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in his quote, he was saying if you don't plan, you're most likely to face those trials with no experience or no heads up. Therefore, you'll fail because of them.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, when we're planning, as you were saying, we don't really expect the unexpected. We don't really plan for the stuff that's not, that no one really expects. I feel like, especially with what we are experiencing with this this whole chaos with the disease, no one really planned for these things. And thankfully, we have a government that has helped us out and has helped a lot of people. But the same can't be said for other countries where people are definitely experiencing a much, much, much more harder experience with this whole thing. So, but since you guys are hopefully moving on into adult life and you'll be kind of building your life from scratch. I feel like all of you guys are a blank canvas. If you don't plan, as Ashley was saying, so I'll second her emotion. If you don't plan ahead, you'll likely fail just because you didn't plan, and your plans don't always go as you thought they would go. That's almost a given, but at least you had a plan in mind that you wanted to execute. So thank you, Ashley. Let me go to Rosita. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, how are you?
I said that if you don't plan your future, you can take a for like the worst instead of the better. Because when teachers, tell you to plan about your life after high school and college and everything, it's if you decide just to, either not do anything or like somewhat of like what you want to like say you just take your off or something. You never know what that's going to turn into. It could turn into like 2 years working or going into just like something else. But I feel like also it can be planning to be like short term and then long term.
Yeah.
And, like planning for your future and then planning for like a day's schedule. So like
Yes.
not making sure that your day is impact with the most that you feel to where you like give yourself or have time to like get a breather within the day so that you're not overstressing. Because I feel like planning is something that is important. So that
I think Rosita got cut off. Where's she at? She got kicked out? Oh, there she is. You there?
here,
Barely can hear you.
that was weird. Let's just be
It's
out.
okay. I heard most of what you said for sure, but I think a lot of people didn't hear you. So I'll kind of repeat a little bit of what you just said, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so for those of you who were, I think Rosa was having lots of trouble with her audio, but I was able to hear a lot of this stuff. Okay, you can't hear anybody. Try muting and unmuting, Jeremiah. Let me do it. Okay, can you hear us now?
Sort
Can you
of.
hear us now?
It's very, very screechy.
Okay, all right, so we'll limit the conversation then since a lot of people can't hear us. Okay, it's not us that's screeching. Okay, so we'll just limit the conversation. I'll probably end it here, but Rosita touched on a really good point, and that's short-term and long-term planning. And so short-term has to do with the everyday, but I don't know if you guys ever heard that few actions make up a habit, or the everyday make up a habit. So a few weeks ago when we were trying to build new habits, you guys got a plan on hand. You know, you wrote it down, wanted to accomplish some stuff, and a lot of you guys actually did, you know, because it was a plan that you had done. And for some of you, even though you had planned, it kind of still failed, but at the very least you knew that if you tried it, you could do it. You know, it wasn't something impossible. And then long-term planning, that has to do with the rest of your life, right? It seems like, well, I'm only 18, Ms. Rosas, why are you trying to make me plan the rest of my life? Not quite the rest of your life, but at the very least the next 4 years, because if you know anyone who graduated from high school 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you know that those 5 years or 4 years or 3 years go by in a snap. And if they didn't plan out what they wanted to do with set deadlines, I mean, really planning, not just thinking, oh, at some point I'm going to go back to school, or at some point I'm going to get a better job. You know, it's this long-term, very detailed planning that's going to force you to keep yourself accountable to yourself, really not to anyone, because, you know, at the point that you're an adult, not even your parents are on top of you trying to tell you what to do, you know? So it is really important for you to pinpoint, and that's kind of the message that I want you guys to get from this class. So, but because we don't have that good of an audio, I feel like Thursdays are always the time when our computers are just exhausted. They don't want to work anymore. So thankfully, it's just today is the last day. So you are all done with week 3. So congratulations to all. And then I just wanted to remind you guys that tomorrow is the last day to turn in grades for me. So I'm going to be turning those grades today. I've got to update a few things. Ale turned in some stuff. I know another person turned in stuff. So I'll update those along with the new stuff that we've been working on. But yeah, we don't have that much time left. As we said last time, we only have about 7 to 8 weeks depending on what we're going to do. But only a few weeks more. So hang on tight. Haven't heard much, but I was reading this morning that some of the coastal mayors might open beaches, which I feel like it's a really good thing. So I don't know. We're gonna have a staff meeting tomorrow, as we always do, with on Fridays with all teachers and Dr. Heflin. And graduation, just so you guys know, graduation ceremony is always a topic in our conversation, just because we're learning different things as we go. But this week, several parks opened. You know, it's, yes, you can't be a group in there together. But just walking yesterday through the streets, I saw a group of people come together to those AA meetings. I think that was what it was, just a bunch of guys together. And, you know, they all had masks and everything, but I want to say there were less than 10, but they were together already. And I think in the past, you didn't see that anymore. So it looks like some of the gatherings may be okay. I don't know if we're just going to have a ceremony where, you know, you guys go to the podium and, you know, it's going to look different for sure. Or everybody stays in their car. I don't know. But for sure, I think it's in all of us, it's in all of our minds to do some sort of ceremony. Maybe we can go to the beach and do it in the beach, since the beaches are going to be open soon. Who knows? But I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of hope. I know the ceremony is really important for everybody. So, and it is for us as well. So just have that in mind. Okay, so we are, I just want to take a tally. Can you guys hear me well? Hear me? Go ahead and chat.
Yes, I can.
Yes, okay, good. I don't want to just be talking and not see if now you can't hear me. Okay, so we've done the quick write. Thank you, Riley. We've done the quick write. We've done a little bit of debrief since microphones aren't working. Now we're going to continue reading how to get ready for college research. So go ahead and grab a new doc. I don't know if you can do that at the same time, or your notebook where you're going to take notes. Okay, good. Perfect. So you're going to take notes. So either grab a piece of paper or a doc, and you can read off the computer with me as I'm sharing my screen. Let me go back to that. So we're going to continue reading. We've stopped debriefing last time. And for the sake of time, we have about 30 minutes left. I'm just going to go over some of the stuff that he talks about in here and then ask you guys a few questions. So in your last homework, in our last session, we were talking about scholars instead of students. And one of the points that he talks about is this change in identity, this change in not personality, but mentality. So you're going to keep being yourself, right? The person who you have always been, you're going to keep being that person. But it's changing from a scholar to a student is sort of a different mentality change, a different identity. So, and it's just a role you're picking up. You know, it doesn't mean you're going to leave who you are behind, that you're going to leave your values or your things you believe in. None of that you'll have to leave, but you are picking up another role. So all of us have roles. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a teacher, I'm under a boss, right? So I'm an employee, I'm a member of a church, etc. So I have all these roles that I play every day. Sometimes 2 roles at the same time. Not a mom yet, right? But sometimes I seem to act like a mom with some of my students. But that's some of the roles that I picked up. So I'm not in school yet, or I'm not in school anymore. Hopefully I'll be soon doing my master's. But until then, I'm not a student. Yes, I learn, but I'm definitely not a student. So far, you guys have those roles as well. So a lot of you guys are a sibling to somebody else. You're a daughter or a son to your parents. You're a friend to your friends. Maybe you're a boyfriend or girlfriend to your significant other. So you have different roles. The scholar role is right about the same one, but this one requires, and here's some of the stuff that he talks about. Let me zoom in for you. It says that the student and the scholar role have different sets of expectations in terms of independence, structure, autonomy, complexity, and that these identities are necessary to successfully go through each one. So why this is important: when you are in college or when you're in the workforce, as you are growing, you'll see that even your role as a daughter or as a sibling changes. And so becoming a scholar doesn't mean you're going to isolate yourself. It doesn't mean you're going to prioritize school so much that you're going to forget about your family. Please don't do that. It can happen. Definitely, it's happened with a lot of people. But that's also one of the reasons why people quit school, because they realize it's taken away from them instead of adding value to their lives. But school is what you make it. I am a strong believer of that's what it is. If you want it to take over your life and that's all you have, then it'll happen, because that's what you want it to happen. That's what you thought it took for you to achieve success. But it's not that way. You want to find that balance between your different roles. And of course, being a scholar is different than a student, because again, you are more independent. You are by yourself. No one's really telling you what to do. You depend a lot on your self-accountability and your work ethic, and if you've never had that before, this is the time where you're going to see, wow, like I really need to find it. Or even as an employee, if you've never been employed before and getting out of high school will be the first time, which I don't think is the case for any one of you, but it's a change, and it's a role you need to pick up and embrace as best as you can. Not thinking you're going to be perfect, but you can become better with time and become more balanced. So I'll stop right there. He also talked about social media role and identity. So I want to hear from you guys, because I've spoken a lot. So it kind of ended here, right on page 6. So it's a little bit of a paragraph. So let me go to whose audio is working. Oh, I haven't heard of Cheyenne. Good morning, Cheyenne. If you can hear me.
Morning.
How are you? You sound tired. I think all sound tired.
I'm good.
Okay, so we're on the next section, social media role and identity. And just from your reading, what can you summarize or synthesize from that little paragraph?
What I kind of got from it is that social media has like helped people like kind of get into the new role of being a scholar, just because like it is social, so you can find like new opportunities through it and develop like new friendships and stuff. I mean, of course, social media has its downside, but like I think what they're focusing on is that it allows you to like become a part of the new culture that you're trying to be a part of.
Yes. And yes, like I want to touch on what Cheyenne said. Technology in general is pretty good. There is a dark side to it. I think there is for everything. But for sure, these new technologies that are coming into schools, especially technology in school, are helping students transition. And I know that most universities are using social media as a way to communicate with their students. So, excuse me, while it can be great, and it can be a way in which you engage, in which you learn, I would recommend to always take everything with a grain of salt and see whether it fits you or if it's your goals. Because if it doesn't, or it doesn't adjust to your plan, there's your plan again, then I would say if it's unnecessary and you don't really need it, don't go for it. Always take things critically. So again, with a grain of salt. Just because it's worked for hundreds of people, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So have that in mind, okay? All right, and then let me go to the new one. So we're gonna start in this section. So this is where you'll start taking your new notes, and your notes can look as Cornell notes, mind map, whatever notes you want to do. Okay, let me reply back to Jeremiah because the sound just cut off. There it is. Okay, so we're here. It's gonna turn to some stuff. I changed the roles, and here's his subtitle. He says, "Not all successful high school students are successful in college. Successful college students." And oh man, what a truth. So this is what we're going to be talking about next for the next 10-15 minutes. Okay, so I'll read it because I know you guys' audios are not great. So I'll read it for now. Hopefully next time on Monday, when our computers have had somewhat of a rest, our internet is working a bit better. So it says, because identity and cognition are embedded in and expressed by language, our discourse influences the way we perceive and understand the world. Language allows students to assimilate into a new post-secondary culture, as well as internalize and communicate ideas, expectations, and perceptions present in that culture. As students gain proficiency in academic discourse, they develop academic literacy, which is the ability to use and apply the type of language expected in a college environment. As students become more competent in their academic identity, fully embrace the role of college student, and become fluent in academic literacy, they are better poised for success in their academic pursuits. Self-confidence, achievement, motivation, and academic self-efficacy are strong non-academic predictors of college GPA. Let me move from the moving away from family and friends to attend college is especially difficult for students who have not been exposed to the conventions of academic discourse and have underdeveloped academic identities. So I'm going to stop right there so you guys can start taking notes. Okay, so let me focus on the first little paragraph. So he is talking about a academic literacy, and go ahead and write that down or type it down if you're doing this on a doc. Academic literacy. It is not, so I'll tell you what it's not. Academic literacy is not changing your way of speaking to normal or to in everyday life. That's not what it's saying. I know it sounds like that, but that's not what it is. So when this author talks about the new language that you're going to acquire, it's talking about the academic environment only. So it doesn't mean you're going to go home talking like the books sound like, none of that. So again, this is a new role you're picking up. Up to when? Let me see. So it doesn't mean you're going to be changing the way you speak. It just means you're going to learn a new way. And this is also true for high school. In high school essays, right, academic writing, you don't write right in your thing as you would speak every day. And if you do, your teacher's always bugging you about writing academically, not as everyday language, right? So when you go into college, all these expectations that are being taken that are expected from you, you need to acquire a new sort of lingo in which you'll write and speak just in academic discourse. So just in class, just around your professors. So you'll pick that up. And as the better you do that, the faster you'll be able to accommodate to the new culture. So that's what he's saying in here. It says, let me focus on these. Self-confidence, achievement, motivation, and academic self-efficacy are strong non-academic predictors of college GPA. So let's talk about each in one each of those. So self-confidence. I think in this one you guys can talk. Let me see. Sierra can't talk. Oh, Ashley can talk. Sorry, Ashley, I'm picking on you because you can talk.
That's okay.
There you go. What is self-confidence in your own words? Like, what does that mean?
To be self-confident isn't necessarily like to have a big ego or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess in my own words, it would be to be like more than content with yourself, or just content with how you are and how you're acting, like your behavior and who you are. Let's see. I don't know.
Believe in yourself, maybe?
Yeah, having hope for yourself and your future, maybe.
Yeah. So thank you, Ashley. So self-confidence has to do with believing you can do something. So it's this ability to believe. And notice he says non-academic predictors, right? So this is what most people or most researchers had seen, that these things play a role in successful college students or successful people in the workforce. So as you're planning your future, either in the workforce or in college, and I'm gonna take Ale as an example. So Ale, in the beginning of the year or even this semester, she really wanted to go to Paul Mitchell, I think. It's a beauty school, super famous, super prestigious, etc., right? And that was her goal. That was her plan. That's what she wanted to do. And then a few months later, I don't know if it was Miss T or I don't know who convinced her, maybe she convinced herself, that this was not the best route, that it was going to be very costly, and that there was an alternative in community college, if I'm not mistaken, that she could take. And so she decided to move into that. And instead of doing the whole beauty school, she would do business because she could have a lot more opportunities, right? She was really happy about it. So, but in this case, this is what played a role, self-confidence. And why do I speak of Ale's example? Because she knows, she believes in herself. She knows that she's going to be able to build any kind of business if she wants to, right? And she's going to school just to get new skills, but she already has it in her to become maybe a person who is going to help out others with their hair and makeup and all that. I don't know if that's going to be the business that she wants to pick up, but whatever business she wants to do, it's going to be successful because she believes in herself. Now, of course, there is more than that to believe, but that's where we start, right? I know Riley from the get-go, she was like, I'm moving, I'm going to, I think, Oregon. Is it Oregon, Riley? No,
It's
not
Wyoming.
Wyoming, thank you. So she wanted to move across the country, right? And there was nothing on earth I could ever say to convince her to stay in California, because she was already set. She believed she could do it. She got accepted. Now she's moving over there very soon. So as you can see, believing in yourself, probably more than anybody else can do that, plays a role in being successful. If you go to college thinking, oh, I'm gonna fail everything, then chances are you are, because you're already planning to fail, or you're already thinking you're gonna fail, right? The second one, it says achievement motivation, and this is where we all hit a roadblock. Motivation. How do you stay motivated to do things? And from my perspective, it was my family, it was my faith, it was my attachment to the people outside the university that kept my motivation going. And what do I mean by this? I always had people asking me, like, how's school going? You know, how is everything going? And sometimes when it was going really bad, I could say, oh, it's sucking. You know, I hate it. Right now, I hate it. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm about to quit. And those people would come to the rescue, you know, my family, people from church. Shoot, I would pray. I would say, I can't do this anymore. And I feel like I would feel better. So academic achievement, achievement motivation, like your will or your desire to say, okay, I'm going to graduate. This is going to be good. when it's 3 in the morning, you're trying to finish an assignment. Or like me, once I spent the whole night doing an essay, and then when I was about to submit it, it got deleted. Oh, I wanted to die. You have no idea. I wanted to die. And so I had to frantically email the professor, be that person who emails a professor 2 hours before it's due and say, my thing is erased. And I was like, he's not going to believe me. He's going to think I've, I don't know, I left it to the last minute. Anyway, he believed me. Thank God. He believed me, and he allowed me to turn it in like that night or something like that. So I kind of already knew what I was going to write about, but writing a whole essay that took me the entire night was not, and I hadn't had much sleep. Anyway, I wanted to give up. But there was there was my mom right there saying, hey, like, you want to eat something, and just little stuff like that. She'd bring me a coffee every other hour so I could get up, or I would go and stay at friend's house and say, you know what, if I go to my house, I'm going to fall asleep, but let me go to your house and I'll probably work in there. So I remember stealing all the Red Bulls in their fridge because I needed to stay up. So it's all those hard moments where if you can count on people around you, whomever they are, you'll get through it. And so that's why I truly believe that what he's talking about is in fact reality. And he doesn't tell us how that is, but not long ago I was in your shoes where it was uncertain how the whole college thing was going to be. I was excited because I was so excited to go to college. And it kind of went down a bit, but this achievement motivation, this idea that you really want to pursue this, that you really want to be the best at what you are, I feel like it comes from the people around you. And even if you don't have anybody, look for somebody. That's how I would say, look for a group in college where those people are motivated, because they're going to keep you accountable. They're going to keep you in your feet. They're going to be asking you constantly, hey, how's that class? Or how's that final? When's your final? In fact, yesterday, my sister came over to the house and she was talking about her psychology class. And she was like, I've been doing good. I got 90s on my test. I got 2 tests that were 100. And I feel confident. I was like, that's so cool. And I shared with her that I had shared her syllabus with you guys, and that we always kept wondering how you were going to do it, how she was going to do it, because it seemed like such a hard course where there was not a lot of wiggle room to fail. And she said it been doing good. So I'm always constantly asking her, because I know that that's necessary. She doesn't live with us anymore, but I'm always saying, hey, how's classes? Are you doing your assignments? How was the last midterm? Just asking those things helps. It helps people keep motivation up. And then go through the conversation. Academic self-efficacy. That's the last one that he talks about. So the number one that he spoke was believing yourself, or self-confidence, right? You believe that you can do these things. And this is not some sort of metaphysical sort of speaking, it'll come out, none of that. But if you believe in yourself, a lot of things will come true. So because you are obviously going to put the work in, since you do have self-confidence. So achievement motivation is keep grinding, keep doing the work, keep going, be consistent, keep doing your homework, even through high school, keep doing that. And if you can't find any motivation in yourself, go find it somewhere else. Go to your family and express, hey, like, this sucks, I can't do this anymore. And you'll find words of encouragement. Or you'll find, like me, sometimes I didn't find words of encouragement. I'll be like, some people would say, oh, I dare you, you're going to quit. You're such a quitter. And that gave me motivation, because I didn't want to give them that pleasure of seeing me quit. I have some odd friends. So, but you know what? It worked. It worked. And I was so happy that I got this, the hard love sort of thing through me, because it got me through, definitely. So finally, academic self-efficacy. And notice that there's 2 words where you have self and self. Efficacy has to do with the effectiveness of your work. So I remember, I don't know if you guys remember him, but do you guys remember Kenneth from last year? So he was in our AVID class, and he was always saying, work smarter, not harder. And, you know, for everything that I remember of him, that's the one thing that I remember him saying: work smarter, not harder. He will always repeat it, but he lived it. He always found ways to become more efficient at his work. You know, if it didn't have to be, and efficiency doesn't mean poor quality of work. No, efficiency means doing it fast and doing it right. And so you're gonna have to find ways in which you know yourself better, and you're gonna find ways in which you can be successful. And I'll put you an example of what that looks like. So in college, as you guys all know, you're gonna have to take notes, right? So a lot of people never learn or weren't taught how to do notes or how to do effective notes. So what they do is they record the sessions, right? They put a little recorder and they record the professor's voice. Some others even record the course. I think that that's a pretty cool idea. You know, you do have to get permission from your professor, but you can do it, you know, and then rewatch. But it's not enough to do that. Let's say a person does that, records everything, but doesn't take notes and just kind of pays attention throughout. But it's not efficient if that person goes home and never watches a video, right? Because what your brain does, it says, oh, well, I can watch it later. And it just relies on that. And maybe you get distracted throughout because your brain knows you're going to get to it at some point. But the truth is, you don't have an extra hour to go over the stuff that the professor went over in your own time. So that doesn't work for you, right? So it may seem like it was efficient in the beginning, but you know yourself and you saw that you didn't have time to go back to that recording and take notes. So you got to toss that idea out and maybe learn how to take notes, you know, teach yourself how to take notes. So this whole idea that if you don't know something in college, don't wait for anybody to explain it, because sadly no one's going to come and explain it, like really no one, unless you go to like a tutoring session or resource that they have out there. Maybe you'll get taught how to do things. But if you don't know how to do things, teach yourself. You know, there's so many resources in YouTube everywhere where you can teach yourself how to do things. I know I was always looking for YouTube videos on how to read faster because I had so much reading to do and I didn't think I could do it in such a short time. So always looking for ways to make my work more efficient. So that's what it's talking about. So finally, let's recap. Number 1, it's about self-confidence. Number 2 is achievement motivation, which is keeping or being consistent in your work, quality and quantity. And then finally, academic self-efficacy. This is where don't be stuck at what you don't know. You know, if you don't know something, go find out, go research it, go learn it yourself. You know, don't wait for anybody. I think it has to do with being resourceful. And again, you guys in Julian are more than resourceful because there's not a lot of resources. If there's no resources, you got to create your own, you know? So you guys have a lot of that. And that's, according to all these researchers, some of the strongest predictors for college GPA. And GPA is what rules your success, right? Whether you graduate or not, your GPA is super, super important in college. And it says here, moving away from families and friends can be super hard. But again, if a lot of you guys have the chance to stay at home or even close to home, maybe not at home, but close to home, take that chance because it's going to be really, really, really important. I know Riley is one of those who's going to move out. Finally, you're going to move out from parents, but I think you have a sister, right? Somewhere 30 minutes away from you. You'll find yourself, and if at some point you and I speak when you're in your first year of college, you'll find yourself going to your sisters more often than you thought. Just because you kind of cling on to somebody who you already know, somebody who you can confide in, who's not going to judge you and who's going to, you know, give you words of encouragement. I know Riley has a faith, so maybe you'll find a church where you go to and you'll find people who can encourage you. So all those things that can keep all of you guys motivated. Let me see. Oh, nice. Okay, so maybe they're the ones who want to stay close to you. That's great. But I don't know if you want to go back to your parents, but trust me, whenever, I don't know what it is, but whenever we're in high school, we kind of just want to get away from them as much as we can. But then college comes, you just want to be right there like a little kid in their homes, just trying to get, you know, something from them, because they're so nice. I think most of them are nice, that they look at you and they feel like, oh, poor kid, you know, suffering over here. So they tend to be really, really cool during those hard years. So I'm glad. And then I'll read this final little thing so you guys can take notes on it. We have about 4 minutes. So minority groups are more likely to belong to and identify with cultures that embody uniquely specific discourse styles. These students may feel that adopting a new language is a betrayal to their cultural identity and may thus be especially reluctant to abandon their native language. Lacking a common language with others once they arrive in college, some students are unable to communicate effectively with their peers and instructors, and as a result tend to not feel like a legitimate member of the culture. This feeling is often experienced by students as imposter syndrome, the phenomenon of not feeling that one's accomplishments and qualifications are genuine or sufficient. So let me touch base on this. This has to do a lot more with students of color. So in my experience, when I got to state, maybe there were, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 people who looked like me. And it does make you or the person make you kind of like isolate a bit because you feel like you don't belong. But thankfully, I had really, really good friends who were not, I guess, my color or my ethnicity, who helped me out navigate those things. And I guess I was always really afraid of other cultures just because, I don't know, there's this negative connotation attached to other people and how they view you and just all these things. But when you guys get to college, you'll see groups, right? You'll see the groups, like sometimes they're by ethnicity, sometimes they're by wealth. I don't know the groups that exist today, but I think the most important thing that you want to know is that as long as you communicate with your professors in a way that they're understanding you and you understand them, there is no reason why you should feel like you don't belong where you belong. You not only have the grades, you deserve to be there. The color of your skin does not matter. It does not play a role. Your brain, it has no color. You know, your knowledge has no color. It has no culture. And you are who you are. I'm always going back to Riley's little advice. Stick to who you are. You know, you don't need to change for anyone. You don't need to adjust. A lot of you guys are going to go to a city when maybe city people, you've never really, you know, you've seen them obviously, but you haven't really been there and what it's like to be in a city, and that might be a little different. But it doesn't mean you have to change. You do have to adjust in some ways, pick up a new role, but you're not being a hypocrite. You're not abandoning where you usually are. You're simply picking up a new role. Just like you're different with your family than you're different with your friends. You know, you speak differently, and that doesn't make you a liar or a hypocrite. You're just picking up new roles. So that's what it's talking about here and referring to. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys to read page 7 and page 8. Yes, page 8. So this last aspirations, what isn't aspired can never be achieved, ends in a little bit of page 9. So I want you to read through that. So again, you're going to read page 7, page 8. So that's 2 pages, and just the last 2 paragraphs that are of that little section. Okay, so let me put that in Google Classroom. Let me stop the share for a second so I can